Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar today, Enterprise DevOps, Operating Seamlessly from Dev to Production and Beyond. Vistara provides a SaaS solution that enables enterprise IT and service providers to drive unified IT operations management. We can manage end-to-end IT ops cycle for your entire heterogeneous IT environment to provide service-centric and business-relevant insights. Vistara has a multi-tenant SaaS architecture with enterprise-grade security and massive scalability, and our technology is mature. There are currently over 1,000 end customers under management in Vistara, many of them through the 100+ partners that we work with. And you can see a sample of the breadth and depth of the cloud and technology platforms that we integrate with. My name is Aki Naito. I'm Senior Director of Marketing at Vistara. And I have with me Benka Etikela, Vistara's Director of Engineering and our DevOps lead. In the next 45 minutes or so, we will cover a few things. What is DevOps, the definition and trends, and how does Vistara think about it for our discussion today? And the core of what we want to talk about is the Vistara on Vistara story. Have a conversation with Venkat about the lessons that we have learned at Vistara to manage a highly distributed SaaS application and how it can help you. And finally, we'll show you some of those principles in action via the Vistara platform, which we use internally to run our own application. DevOps is hot in the IT world today, and one indicator of this is Google Trend search popularity. And as you can see, DevOps has seen huge growth in searches over the past 2 years. But what we thought was interesting about this is that if you compare it to continuous delivery or continuous integration, which are often mentioned in the same breath as DevOps, it doesn't actually follow that same trend. And DevOps is more than just continuous integration. It's the culture and processes from organization to operations that enables continuous integration and delivery for more agile business. So many terms are associated with DevOps. It's a culture and a process, not a specific framework. A core objective of DevOps is agility in delivering IT services, as is continuous integration, where developers integrate code into a common repository multiple times a day. Automation plays a huge role in bringing together simplicity and consistency to as many parts of the processes as you can. And server configuration management tools have played a central role in that automation realm as well. Lydia Leong's definition of DevOps summarizes this really well. That DevOps is a philosophy based on a loosely aggregated set of principles that encourage development, testing, and operations organizations to work together to improve the velocity and quality of releases. Some of the principles are to deliver measurable business value, emphasizes simplicity and agility in all these areas. Organizationally, break down the barriers between these organizations, at the same time continually improving processes, organizations, and the technology. Now, while DevOps is often associated with many of the, quote, born in the cloud new age technologies like our companies like Etsy and Netflix or the Googles and Facebooks of the world, all signs indicate that this way of work between development and operations is going mainstream. So if you read any of Gartner's research, Gartner is all about bimodal IT. They define bimodal IT as the idea that organizations have two speeds of IT today, traditional and agile. The traditional IT mode is about doing things right. There's efficiency, processes, governance, safety, price for performance. Agile IT is focused on doing IT fast. It's very much aligned with DevOps principles of rapid delivery, continuous and process-based governance, being service-centric, and aligning closer to those business needs. And what they say is that organizations, and particularly enterprise, will continue to have bimodal IT to experiment and do things quickly and fail quickly with a more DevOps-oriented approach while maintaining traditional IT for much of their legacy kind of IT work. But you see here that it's not just about the Facebooks and the Netflixes. There are many organizations that are starting to adopt this. And our point is, in whatever form, DevOps and that new way of organizing people and processes will impact IT and development from new age startups to traditional, quote, offline industries. So what kind of solutions do you think you need as you prepare for this new way of work? So a modern IT infrastructure is going to be distributed in supply chain. It could be on-premise, data centers, private clouds, public clouds, and increasingly you'll see that federation of the IT infrastructure. We think IT Operations Lifecycle Management is not just about monitoring, it's not just patch. It's being able to end-to-end manage and maintain and optimize everything that you have in your IT environment, wherever it may be from. At the same time, that seamless integration with the service side, the processes and people that go with it is going to be even more important as things move faster and are coming from distributed sources. Then within a DevOps organization, there's certain characteristics that you require of operations. An app command center, so 360 visibility to everything that impacts your application, not just the environment. Role-based access control so that the right people have access to different parts of your environment and no more, no less. Service-driven ops is service-centric rather than element-centric view, the environments that support your applications, and then the ability to integrate your releases and provisioning with operations processes and automation. And this is really what Vistara brings together in one platform. So we're a SaaS solution for IT operations, and as a company with an enterprise-class SaaS application, that really requires that agility to respond to customer and partner needs with distributed infrastructure. We as a company at Vistara has adopted DevOps practices, and we're an ideal customer for our own product. So as they say, we eat our own dog food, drink our own champagne. I'd like to introduce again Venkat Atikala, Vistara's Director of Engineering and our DevOps lead, to discuss what Vistara has learned through experiences with DevOps and managing our SaaS applications through Vistara.
Hi everyone, thanks for making it to the webinar. Before I go more deep into the details, let me introduce myself. I lead development QA and DevOps efforts at Vistara. We are about 50 people engineering organization, and our DevOps team is very small, 2 people organization. And we manage very large production clusters. Some of our clusters are 70 plus production clusters, and we are located in multiple data centers. In each data center, we have about 75 node clusters. And just 2 people DevOps organization is managing all these DevOps stuff on our production. And not only that, they also take care of dev, QA, staging, and the migrations. And at other organizations, similar size clusters are managed by much larger ops teams. Usually, in majority of the organizations, they allocate one ops guy per 20 to 50 node cluster. So fairly, our DevOps organization is very small, and we think it's going to scale much further with existing DevOps organization. How do we achieve this? Lots of automation, and we use Vistara SaaS platform to help us achieve this. Even though we deliver Vistara SaaS platform, majority of the people that they use is for a different purpose, and we use for our own DevOps purpose. And we want to show one of the use case of our product being Vistara on Vistara. I'm really excited to share additional details in next few minutes.
Okay, so let's start with the questions. First, how are we qualified to talk about DevOps, and why should enterprises care about how we manage Vistara?
So in the past world, we used to have element management, and now the new world is all about services. You have large clusters like 20 node Cassandra cluster, 10 node MySQL cluster. It's all about services. And as a SaaS platform, we are a big company, and we have hosted in 2 different data centers, and each data center is about 70 plus node servers. And in addition to these things, we have a lot of dev, staging, QA, pre-prod clusters. And we have lots of data, and we process close to 1 billion inbound messages today. It's 1 billion as in B. We use Chef for provisioning, configuration, deployment, and if everything goes well, we believe that our current organization should scale at least up to 4x growth with our existing set of tools.
Great. So how did Vistara evolve to adopt a more DevOps-oriented approach?
So last year, we were spending lots of cycles on production operations. Lots of engineering times were wasted because the operations team was element-focused, not service-focused, and we were always reactive. Majority of the stuff was not automated. We felt the need to have DevOps team to automate and manage the Vistara SaaS platform. We moved from Ops to a DevOps, and we are glad that we made the decision.
Right. So let's do a comparison of life before and after these changes. What did development look like before the DevOps changes?
Before we moved to DevOps organization, when we were Ops, more of an Ops-centric organization, majority of the deployments were done manually. There was very limited automation. Engineering and operations had to get involved in every single release cycle, every single change management. Log into multiple systems, understand where is the issue, what is going on, how is the performance, and all that stuff. Longer release cycles, no insight, which means no agility, and completely element management.
Okay. Now, what about today?
Today, automation reduces dependency on various teams. We use automation for provisioning, configuration, build deployment automation, automated management, automated scaling. Majority of the stuff is automated today. And Vistara alert notifies when we need to get involved. We don't have to go look all the time what is happening. We go look certain times, but things do happen, and they happen middle of the night, and people get notified when something happens. And engineering team is not getting involved in platform operations, and which in turn reduces it to shorter release cycles as they can focus on the engineering stuff more and more.
Now, how did Vistara, our product, come into play?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, we did not manage our complete application on Vistara platform. We were using it for some of the stuff, but we were not using it as a DevOps organization. We were using it as a more of an Ops organization. When we transformed into the DevOps mode, we did some. In fact, before we went into the DevOps mode, why we had to make the decision? So 1 or 2 occasions, some of our clusters could not handle the load, and they went down. It's because we were not looking as a service, and large team size was required to manage as you are in reactive mode now. Like your cluster went down, everybody needs to get involved to bring up the cluster. And when you are reactive, everything stops. Literally, everything stops. Engineering stops, operations stop, everybody is working on to bring up the server. And our mean time to recover was much higher, and which means large operational costs as everybody used to get involved. And we did not know what were our bottlenecks, whether we were CPU intensive, whether we were memory intensive. We did not know. And there was no compliance. And one guy goes and updates a configuration on all the database nodes. And after that point, everything slows down drastically. How do you know who did it and why they did it? You do not have any compliance in place. You are not seeing what you want to see. There are no tools to see who did the change. And human beings forget things very fast. They have very short memory. So today you provision a VM, you use it, and you name it something. Let's say you name it as an app.vistara.net. But over a period of time, you might have taken that node out of the apps cluster and you might be using it for a database cluster, but you might have left the name as it is. Now, 6 months down the road, when you come back and look at, you want to look at the database node, but the node name is app node. How do you make sure that this is an app node? What is the IP of it? You need an inventory management system altogether when you have a large cluster. When you have like 10 node cluster, you might not be worried. You might not worried about all these things. You might just maintain Excel. But as you grow, the Excel is not going to scale. You need a system which can tell you everything, and you need a system where you can note everything, and everybody can share everything. So all these facts made us use Vistara for every single thing. So we decided to move everything into the Vistara platform and force everybody to use the platform. When we started using our own product for SaaS scale, our perception was completely different. We refined our product a lot, and it's a continuous thing. We have been doing that over and over. Like we go, and as you go and use, you feel that, okay, this feature should be this way, not this way, as it's more cumbersome to use. As part of a Vistara feature set will continuously evolve, we have lots of exciting features to come in the next releases. One of the recent one is automated device management. So what happens is, in the large clusters, when you are running out of the power, you add additional power, whether it could be additional nodes, or you're adding additional drives, and you do quite a few of these things. When these things happen, you want those things to be automatically monitored. You might be adding a Docker container, you might be adding a VM, you might be adding a database cluster. You want these things to be automatically monitored. In today's world, majority of the people, what they do is they provision VM, they configure it, they deploy. And after that, they have to take quite a few steps to manage it. And everybody's talking about continuous integration and continuous deployment. DevOps equals to continuous integration, continuous deployment. That's what majority people think. But unfortunately, that's not the case. If everything is that simple, world would not be like this. The cycles of the deployment, all these things are very small, and in majority of the cases, the operation cycle is way too long for DevOps. The first set, you automate. The second set, you want a tool to see. You want a tool to manage. And continuous integration deployments, you can manage, like you can write Puppet scripts, Chef scripts, and you can pull it from Ansible or wherever you want, and Jenkins or wherever you want, and you put it on the build servers, and you can migrate it from one place to the other. Dev to QA, QA to pre-production to the production. You can migrate that, you can automate that process. But how are you going to manage your automation? And that's where you're going to spend. Once your node goes into the production, you have 1 year or 2 year life cycle, at least 1 to 2 year life cycle. It could be longer too, and you need to manage. You need to keep that in mind. Especially for the small organization, they do not keep on this. They start with something, they don't plan for the management, and that's where they get screwed. And initially, we did the exact same mistake. Even though we had a platform, we did not realize that we can use it. And once we ran into the issues, we started realizing what is the use of it, how it can help DevOps team.
Got it. That's great. Thanks, Venkat. What are, if we were to summarize, what are the main use cases for Vistara when we use our own product?
In a nutshell, service level visibility. You get to monitor application at service level towers. You can look at as a whole application, like if you're developing a SaaS application, you can look at it as a complete application, or you can look at it as a tower teams. There are multiple tower teams, like in every organization. There is one organization which manages only Cassandra, the other organization manages only MySQL DBS, Cassandra DBS, and like that, Memcache DBS. Like you have various roles who perform specific thing. You can have visibility at service level. Then you can use Vistara for patching. We do use Vistara for patching. We use Vistara for inventory management, and we use Vistara for dev access. And dev teams can log in and check the logs, and they can see the performance. And we use Vistara for reporting. And also we get a lot of live views out of these clusters.
Okay. So how does Vistara help the DevOps team?
Mainly, once you go into the operational lifecycle, once you move from deployment lifecycle to the operational lifecycle, DevOps spends lots of cycle on monitoring them. How is it performing? You need to plan ahead of the time. You cannot go into the reactive mode once a node is 100% CPU, once a node is at 100% memory. You cannot go and add it. If you have, well and good, but you have to plan ahead of the time. So you have to keep looking at your cluster all the time. You need to have a live view of the cluster. That's first thing. Second thing is you want to onboard the device as soon as you provision so that you don't have to do anything. And then you want to have actionable event. Be first one to know instead of your customer calling you and hey, I cannot access the service. Instead, you should be able to tell, hey, there is something going wrong before it goes wrong. And then you need to have certain compliance to find what is going on your cluster, who is changing, so that you can take action on that front.
Right. So before we jump into the demo, what are some of the exciting things that we have on the roadmap, given what we're hearing from customers and what you have experienced firsthand?
Yeah. So today we have a lot of automation on scripting and jobs, but we want to bubble it up and we build a complete new generation automation platform and a workflow management, mainly geared towards DevOps and also for the other operational stuff. Today there are not many tools that can do this stuff. Say if I have build on Jenkins, I want to move it to a QA server at specific time, and you want to roll them in a rolling interval. Every 15 minutes roll it to one cluster, or you want to roll it to all of the machines, all the builds in one shot. And then once you are done with the QA, you want to take the exact same builds and you want to move it to your production. And also we want to build a lot of policy-based management. We want to bring a lot of policy-based management to our platform. That way, once a device is onboarded, what do you want to do? Like you want to assign a credential set, you want to assign a group, service map. Some of these features are already there. We want to refine it further as we go along, and then it will be useful for us. It will be useful for our customers too.
Great. So let's take a look at some of these use cases and how Vistara uses our own platform to manage our own SaaS application. Hand it over to Venkat.
Okay. Okay, so this is our platform dashboard. Our DevOps team spends lots of time on this specific page. This is the landing page. Once you come here, you see this is one page where you can see all the action that is going on your complete cluster. Now, what you can see here, what is your inventory? You can see whether it is going up or not. And here I have availability. I can move these widgets up and down based on priority. Everybody's priorities are different. Some might be looking for alerts, others might be looking for utilization. One might be looking for the availability. So everybody's use case is little bit different, and based on it you can customize this dashboard. The best part of this thing is the top devices. So that's one actionable thing. You can see this Windows 7 ACM lab local. The specific machine is about 90% utilization for last 6 hours. So that means it's CPU intensive, and you need to see what is going on. At least you know that what is going on in your cluster. Likewise, you can see memory and disk utilization. So that's the first insight that you get when you come here. And then once you go into the infrastructure mode, what you see here is you see the complete infrastructure. You can see your desktops managed, your servers managed in your infrastructure, network devices, storage, and everything. And you see a red color or green color, and the moment you see red color, you go and jump in. And you can go into the other view where groups. Now here, I'm worried about only this specific Luminalto production app. Okay, this is my production cluster. and the production cluster app, and it has lots of towers inside it. I have an API cluster, I have a cache cluster, I have a Cassandra cluster, and I have a connection cluster, Mongo, MySQL, Spark, Web. And majority of the new generation applications have these towers today. It's a complex application. Now, from various tools, you can get only this tool. You can get a group level view. You cannot get what is going on inside. You cannot get what is it dependent on. So what Vistara provides us is another way to manage our application, which we call it as a service map or a service group. Now, every application is dependent on a subset of services. Okay? Look at here, your connection service is dependent on multiple services: API service, cache service, connection service, Cassandra, Mongo, and all these things. And each service has its own set of business rules. Only the guy who manages it knows it. You might have a tolerance of 2 nodes down on a Cassandra, whereas in MySQL you might have 0 tolerance. So you define your service map in such a way that you get everything out of that place. So let me walk through how we use our service map today. Once I come to the production service, I have 2 entry points. One is a connection service, other one is a web service, and each one of them have its own set of dependencies. Now if you look at here, it shows me the production application is showing that one of the services up, there is no downtime on that, there is no node down, whereas the other one has some impact. When I see it, I can go drill down into it. Okay, what is happening in the web service? First of all, when I click on this, I can see what other services it depend on: an app service, a cache service, a Cassandra service, Mongo service, MySQL, web, and all of them seems to be good. I'm good here. Now let me go look at the other one. By looking at the colors itself, you can know what is going on, but I see something going on wrong with the connection service. Let me go into it and see what is going on there. And here, when I see my app service is fine, cache service is fine, my Cassandra service is fine, Mongo is fine, Kafka is fine, Spark is down. My Spark cluster is analytics cluster, which is down. So let me go see and how many nodes are down here. When I go click here, both the nodes seems to be down. Even though it shows something a number here, you can go and drill down what nodes are up and what nodes are down further to get additional details. So now I can go work on the Cassandra, not Cassandra, the Spark cluster. Now in this case, I'm not worried about production downtime. Even though my analytics layer is down, the customers are not impacted. There is a delay in the data delivery, but it's only a degradation of the service, but not the service is down. So I'm not much worried about it, but I do need to act on it. So I'll go click on this node and see what is going on here. And before I go further, I'll go check what is the hardware on this machine. I could not get anything. Probably this machine is down, and I'll go and power it on in the production cluster. So that's the insight that I get out of this. Now, this is one day-to-day use case where you can see the cluster, where you can see the app. It's a application command center for you, application command center for the DevOps team. Now, the tower teams often wants to look at just only the tower. Let's say in this specific case, our Cassandra DBAs wants to just monitor Cassandra. They want to see what is going on in the Cassandra. And let's say they can specify what nodes they want to monitor, and they can launch consoles. So they can do a lot of other operations. And they can put a note for other folks and say, hey, I can specify, hey, this specific not doing well. I can put a note. And this node appears to everybody who is operating. Even if you have multiple shifts, they can monitor it as this node seems to be not behaving well. It could be memory, CPU, hardware, whatever is the issue, but at least you can put a note to the next guy who's coming, next DevOps cycle guy, and they can monitor it. Now, the best part of all this is a console. So oftentimes, you want to go and see what is going on in your cluster. A live view with Chef, Puppet, and all those scripts, you can go in and you can run certain commands, but you cannot see live view what is going on. In order for to use live view, you have to log into all these machines using a SSH console, and you have to type in passwords all the time. You can make it passwordless, but there is a risk around it. And there are various things that you do. But what if you are away from the home? What if you are somewhere but you just have web access? You can, and at the same time you get a call that, hey, something going on wrong with this specific cluster. Can you look into the cluster? And Vistara can help us. In fact, some of our DevOps team members, when they were on a vacation, they would go to the library. They would go to library and they were able to log in and use it as they were not having their laptop next to them. So I can specify that, hey, I want to monitor these machines through SSH, and let me log in through a credential set, AWS credential set, and just click on launch. Magically, it should open me a console. Here is the console open. So now these consoles can be broadcasted. Right now these are not broadcasted. I can go enable the broadcasting mode, and once I enable broadcasting mode, I can send same command to all 6 nodes. If your production cluster is much bigger, you can log into all of them. Oftentimes when you are in a firefighting mode, you want to see it on the spot. You want to execute some command on the spot. You do not have time to write a shell script, or you do not have a time to write an Ansible, Chef, or whatever the script that you are using. You want to do a live thing. That time, this is a lifesaver tool, and we use this almost every day. And the most common tool that everybody uses is the top. Now with one command, I broadcasted message to all of them, and every single console on my screen gets monitored with just one command. I don't have to log into 10 different consoles or 20 different consoles. This is the beauty of the product. We use this almost every single day. It's really, really, really useful. And this use case came up based on our usage, and it was not there earlier. This is fairly newly built feature. Earlier we just had single console. We felt that we need something that can be used across our cluster. And there are a lot of other useful features that we use here. Alerting. When something goes wrong, how do you see? Where do you see? This is the alert console. You can see what happened in the last 15 minutes or last 20 minutes. If you look at here, the CPU utilization is very high on this specific machine. You can act on it, and you can also specify a ticketing mechanism on top of these alerts. You can specify, if an alert process for so and so time, send me a ticket or send me a message. And we are adding a lot of cool features. Today we just have email messages, but in future we are going to add PagerDuty, SMS, and all the additional capabilities. And the other most beautiful feature is the reporting. Oftentimes everybody wants to report their management, and they want to say what they want to show what is going on in the cluster. Inventory report is one common thing, and the management report. Let me go here and show me a executive report. I'll generate a report here, and from September 1st to September 16th, what happened in my cluster, what kind of maintenance I have taken. So this is the maintenance I have did. I've taken care of all these maintenance things. Number of closed tickets, number of open tickets, and let me scroll down. Server antivirus compliance, there seems to be some issues. Some of the things seems to be non-compliant. Some of the things seems to be not supported. Excuse me. And security and critical patch management. Here you can see how many critical patches are there, how many patches are failed, how many are installed. You can get a complete cluster overview. You do not need to gather all this information. If you have 5-node, 10-node cluster, it's easy to gather information, but if you have large clusters, how are you going to gather this information? And it takes a lot of time for people to gather this information and put it on Excel or PPT or whatnot. Here everything comes very handy. Everything is in front of your screen and you can see it every single day. So in nutshell, automation plus Vistara is what solving our problem as a DevOps team.
Thanks, Venkat. We're going to jump to the Q&A section. I hope you had a good understanding of how Vistara, our platform, is helping us manage the SaaS application that we have customers and partners on. We have a few questions that have come in, and please feel free if you're on the Right Talk webinar to put more into the chat window. Venkat, how do you use Vistara internally to break down barriers between Dev, QA, and Ops teams?
In majority of the organization, what I have seen is only one organization has access to tools. So what happens is when an issue happens, let's say a build moves from QA to production, or a build moves from Dev to QA. When that happens, either CPU is high, or memory is high, or the node goes down, runs out of memory, whatever happens. When that happens, you might be having some script to restart it, right? And the application comes up once again. But now, QA has already seen a downtime of 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever is the time. And they go back to the dev and say, hey, I have seen a 5 minutes downtime. Did you guys put a new build? No, I didn't put any new build. That's what the answer of the dev team. There is no visibility of what went on. And usually this happens because people are not they're not managing their infrastructure properly. They don't have any tool set to produce this. And let's say if dev convinces the QA team, this build moves to the production. And the exact same thing would happen in the production too. As your tool, you don't have any tool to manage this. You did not caught this specific thing in QA and you moved it to the production. Your decision was purely driven by some external factor, not by statistics. And Vistara is the one which helps us there. In another occasion, when our MySQL database was pounded by way too many requests, and it happened right after the release, right after we moved from dev to QA. And dev says, hey, we didn't do anything. We did not touch any of the database code. But I see the load. Now you have a way to show them that I see load on my MySQL instance. You guys have to go look at. And the dev went back and they saw that somebody changed one parameter, and because of that they were doing a lot of eager loading versus lazy loading. Everything gets loaded, the whole database gets loaded for every single request, and because of that the complete database was screwed up. As there was a tool to monitor this, we were able to catch this ahead of the time. Had we went to the production, we have a huge downtime.
What else are other areas of Vistara can help inspect and understand performance and health?
Mainly around your CPU bottlenecks, memory bottlenecks, and disk bottlenecks. Those things you can monitor. A typical any monitoring tool would do that. In addition to that, we also have an app monitoring. If you have a MySQL app running, how does the MySQL app is running? How, if a Cassandra app is running, how does the Cassandra app is running? If your Cassandra app is using a JVM, you can see the heap utilization, and you can see the swapping, and you can see the garbage collection inside Cassandra. You can see all those details ahead of the time. Before something go wrong, you can take action.
Great. So another hot topic, we've talked about physical machines. Do you have container management like Docker?
Yeah. So today we are mainly focused on physical and virtual infrastructure, and we have a huge public cloud support too. We have a Google, AWS, Azure support. Right now, as we speak, we are working on Docker management, container management. Down the road, in a quarter or two, you'll be able to manage Docker containers exactly the way you're managing physical servers or virtual servers.
Great. Okay, and last question, what are some of the best practices that enterprises need to keep in mind when adopting DevOps?
We learned a lot of lessons due course of moving to the Vistara and building a DevOps team. Oftentimes in organizations, when they start, they want to get it over very quickly, and they do not start with the automation. Start with automation. That would save your life, and it saves life everywhere. Even though it takes a little longer in the beginning, but it's going to cut down your development cycle, your deployment cycle, your operation cycle by a great extent, as you're going to use the same tool set over a period of time, releases further. So it saves a lot of time. Start with automation. And the second thing is, and oftentimes you think that, hey, this application is going to be very short-lived, and once I move this application to the production, I don't have to worry about it. It will run seamlessly. That's not the case. Things happen. Things do happen in the middle of the night, and you have to be prepared for that. So you need to build a fence around you, whether you use Vistara or some other tool, but you need to have a tool set to manage your applications. And if you do not have that, you will become reactive mode, and you'll spend a lot of cycles on firefighting.
Right. Well, thank you, Venkat, and thank you, everyone, for joining today. That concludes our webinar. Please come to www.vistarait.com to learn more. This recording and the slides will be available soon after we finish. Thank you again, and have a good day.
Thanks, everybody, joining.